to do now is bring in Rowan Foxx.
Hi, Aisha. How
Hey,
are
baby,
you?
baby, how are you?
Good, good. I've been in the realm of fairy already this morning and just channeling, just making that great and wonderful contact to bring through some really potent and powerful messages for all of you, but just some really, really helpful stuff from the realm of the Fae and how we can connect with them just a little bit deeper and be co-creators in this reality if we want to. It's like they're opening the gateways once again. So yeah, I'm excited to be here. We're all excited. They're all around me, as you probably can feel and sense. So I'm going to try to be as grounded as I can while I walk between the realms here to bring these messages through. But
All
yes,
right,
we are
awesome.
happy to
Please.
be here, all
So
of
let
us.
me just give you a little bit of a quick intro of you, and then please feel free to bring those messages in. So, internationally acclaimed intuitive counselor, known worldwide to help people navigate their lives through we're going to ask you about this, the Anamkara soul path readings and healings. I hope I said all of that correctly. And I would definitely want to know what that is. This is, it's the Gaelic word for soul friend. There you go. I just got my answer for that. So definitely want to hear more about that. You're a spiritual teacher and mentor, high priestess of the Avalon. She's basically our residential IAUSM witch. So hello there.
She also known as the fairy witch in some circles, of course. So where do you want to start with that? Just with the Anamkara. Let's talk a little bit about the Anamkara, because the Anamkara readings, it just sort of evolved out of just the traditional psychic readings for me. The Anamkara readings, Anamkara does mean soul friend. So it is that person that walks with you as a mentor, as a guide, as a dear friend who cares about you on your path and who gives you that wisdom and shares your journey with you. And so that's where the Anamkara came for me, was from that very heartfelt feeling that I have for all of my clients, all of the people that I work with, and helping them navigate their lives. So it's an energy exchange, right? So it's a blessing both ways to be able to help people on their journey, and likewise I continue to develop on my journey as well. So
amazing. Yes. Amazing. And so you're here to talk to us today about, to share those messages and to really tell people who are the fairy guides. I mean, this is something that I'm sure a lot of people who have never heard this before are probably, picturing Walt Disney in their head and like fairies flying around. So who are and what do the fairy guides represent?
Well, we could spend months and years talking about the Fae, because there's so much information on them, right? So I'm going to really try to put this in a nutshell for everyone. They're our closest neighbors. Okay. They hold space in the realm of the ancestors with our past loved ones, our loved ones who have crossed over. And the Fae hold a specific kind of magic. Now, they're very different than we are, for sure. They don't have the same emotions as humans. They're very skeptical of humans because over the years, over the centuries, really, we've become really bad neighbors. I mean, we become the neighbors that throw our garbage in their yards, right? Nobody wants those neighbors. So the gateway to Ferry, to the realm of Ferry, was shut down a long time ago. It was shut down as the divine feminine was suppressed. So now all of a sudden, with the rise of the divine feminine, the gateway to Ferry is actually beginning to open for more of us. I mean, it's always been open for a few of us that have been, very, very respectful and kind of attuned to the path of Faery. And they sort of sought us out. More than that, now they're opening it up and they are wanting to befriend humankind. But once again, those humans that are respectful, that are genuine, that are authentic, that are kind to the environment. And so it's still a little bit of a dance with the realm of fairy right now. But this is part of what I'm here to do. Part of my mission is to bring back sacred magic. And part of that magic is the fairy magic. So anyone that is here that is interested in deepening their connection to fairy, I really invite you to begin to open up to those realms and ask any questions that you may have. And then also I already have some messages that have been channeled, because as with any other type of reading or channeling that I do, it seems like I set the intention and the energy just starts to come in ahead of time. It comes in usually, well, for this, it's been coming in all week, and I've had Merlin has come through. The white stag has definitely come through to guide us into the other world. So there's been a lot going on. Yeah, and I'm just going to pause there and let you ask any questions you may have, Aisha, or anybody else that has any questions about the realm of fairy, and
I think
we'll
you
go
should
from
just
there.
go ahead and start sharing your messages, because it looks like you're about to burst. So
it's a lot of energy to like work with the realm of the fae. And they're different. They're very different from us. So sometimes, like the information, sometimes you get good information and sometimes you get a little bit of a trickster information. It just depends on who's showing up for you. This information is really like clean and clear. And like I said, it's really interesting because Merlin has shown up. And also with the white stag, which is also known as the Lord of the Forest and the Guardian of the Forest, and also another gateway leading into, Fae. So we have this very masculine energy. And so one of the things that Merlin wanted me to address in my, honorable position of bringing back sacred magic is we spend a lot of time talking about the rise of the goddess and the return of the divine feminine, but we don't spend enough time, he said, talking about the divine masculine, which is also coming back too. So it's also a place for us to begin to have that balance. And so he wanted to address that first and foremost, and then bringing in more of the uniqueness of what's going on in our times right now.
Right.
And so the big message that he brought through was, of course, all of the transformational energy that we've been through and the shifts that are going on. And that, everything that as humans have experienced, grief and just trauma and despair, everything that we've had to, traverse through 2020. And then even now we're still going through it. There's a lot of PTSD. And so that's why he's bringing in the realm of the fairy, or the fairies opening up to us for extreme healing, because as I said before, they view things very differently. So in fairy terms, this is just something that you flow with. This is something that you take the energy and the essence and the power from in order to like move you through into this gateway of transformation. They're actually celebrating with us right now, even though most of us are still kind of like in shock over here on this side of the veil, in this dimension, but they're celebrating with us because this is a huge opening. It's a huge opening to renewal. It's a huge opening to like renewal of the spirit, rebirth of the planet, the return of the divine feminine. So all the work we're doing down here is, it has a meaning and a purpose, as much as it's also been very difficult for us to move through this. So that's why some of the sacredness is opening up, the sacredness of fairy. And as he brings that into it, or as he brings me into it even a little bit deeper, he is talking about the reconnection with nature and how important it is that is our first step in everybody's healing is to get back to nature, is to get back into the forest, is to go to look deeply into those still ponds of water, and to really gaze in, to really begin to interact, to hear the music of the forest itself, to look for the dryads in the trees, to watch for those dragonflies just on the lakes or on the ponds or the streams, to really, really connect in with the rocks and the ground, to really make that full connection with our home. And then that's when we start to open these gateways to fairy. Now, for the human fairy initiation right now, which is where we stand, it's like we're still being tested. We do have to prove ourselves that we're worthy of working with fairy. And part of that is it's you get to the realm of fairy through the heart. So through that compassionate heart, and being authentic and loyal, a good keeper of secrets, so to speak, and just really respectful.
And listen to yourself. What things that you're saying are so resonating with me so far. I'm just going to pause for just a second. It's been incredible because the message, and I'm so glad I listened. And now just this message that's coming is making me feel so much more confirmed or verified, or whatever the word I'm trying to think of right now, in what I'm doing. So, my house is up for sale because I'm going RVing so I can be in nature. I want to be in nature. I want to give up everything that I have built up. And as far as materialistically goes, like it's just stuff, and just go back to the simple. And I've just been really feeling pulled with this with the last few months. So I'm so glad that just hearing you give this message is, I'm very grateful for it. Thank you.
Wonderful. And Aisha, you're not the only one that's getting kind of that sort of awakening to nature. A lot of people are getting called right now. They're getting called back to a simpler life, back to something where they can connect not only with themselves. This is just so important for all of us, but for those that want to deepen our experience, our spiritual experience and our spiritual journey, and and feel drawn to nature, drawn to those very divic elements, and the Fae. This is perfect because this is where we go to make our first connection with them. And as we connect, those beautiful veils start to lift, and you begin to see the hidden beings that have been in the forest all along.
Yeah.
And it's really amazing. And even though I've been walking this path for over 30 years now, it was just like 5 or 6 years ago when I was in the forest, and I literally heard the trees talking to each other. Not heard, but telepathically, I connected in, and it was such an amazing experience to know that, how powerful this energy is, how powerful the natural world is, and just how expansive it is, that it's not just us. And for so long, and even now, a lot of people, they are separated between themselves and nature, and see themselves as separate, and nature is something that exists outside, and it's something to be controlled and to be managed and handled. And it's within all of us. And so from going within and from traveling in the woods and also the woods, the beaches, wherever you're called to. Some people, I'm more of a tree girl. I guess that's not a big surprise since I come from the Celtic tradition, but there are some people, like my business partner is like a huge ocean person. So she's always called to the seas. So, you kind of find your niche in terms of what elements you're going to work with, and
I love
what
stones.
you're
I'm always fascinated with the stone people, like the stones.
The stones, absolutely. And it's so funny because, rocks are not just rocks, right? Stones are not just stones. They are, part of the living landscape of who we are. And not only that, but they hold information, right? So if you go into the woods, or gosh, probably even to like a local park or something, and put your hand on a rock and really really listen to what it has to offer and that information, it's going to tell you a story. And it's going to tell you a story about about the passing of time. It's also, rocks and stones, we think of them, we can see them, especially in the British Isles. They're gateways. They're gateways to the other realms. They hold those secrets. So if you want to know those secrets, put your hand on a stone and use a little bit of that psychometry to like bring it through and start talking to that. And also the trees. The trees are our closest living ancestors, and they hold a lot of information. But once again, you have to sort of pass the threshold, pass the test. Once again, that test is within your own heart. And that's when they will start to like give you the information. It's not something where you can just go out on a lark and think, I'm going to go try this out. It doesn't work like that.
No. I do see a lot of the comments coming in. I'm just going to give Rowan a little bit more time. So is there, before we answer all that stuff, so is there more messages that came in before I cut you off while we were talking and I interrupted you?
I've got a lot of good crystal. Yeah, something. Okay. I'm just reading through your questions right now. And, Aisha, yes, there's like tons of messages. There's so much information that they have. Like, this is just the beginning. This is going to evolve. I mean, we're on a path of evolving, working with other dimensions right now. Not just Ferry. They also wanted to remind me about how we have such a clear connection with our angels and our spirit guides, and we're so used to calling on them for help, but that we can also use our fairy guides and our fairy healers. There are some really powerful fairy healers.
Yep.
That can help us.
Don't worry about the chat. We'll go through that. I just want to make sure that we get all the content that you want to bring in on this one.
Right. So, yeah, I just want to see if there's anything else to be said. I mean, like I said, there's a lot of stuff and a lot of information. I think going through the questions would be good right now, because that will like draw some out.
Okay, well, I've got Bella Bliss saying I added my question in the Q&A. Let me just take a look at that. So she says, where I live, I am not outdoors in the summertime because it's over 100 degrees many days, and we have fire season here in California. So for most of the season, I cut myself off from the outside. What would you suggest on how I safely immerse myself into nature during this challenging time? My immediate answer before Rowan, and I'll let you get to this too, Rowan, is that don't forget, Bella, in your imagination, you can go anywhere you want. There's really nowhere that you can't go. So, if you can't physically go there, that doesn't mean that you can't go there. So I don't know what you would add to that, Rowan.
No, that's precisely right. It's like, once you learn how to like really, like, as we call it, jump the hedge, right? You can go into these different dimensions and be led into these different dimensions. And Ferry is one of them. So through vision journeying and many other ways, you can dip into that. That's how I did it. I didn't go out into nature this morning. I just went to the place that I know on the inner planes, where I meet my guides and I meet my fairy folk and my fairy friends. And it's just becomes a conversation. So that's one way of doing it. Another way of doing it is bringing a little bit of nature inside, planting some herbs, planting just an indoor garden even, or some house plants. And that's another way to really, really connect and invite spirit in. and invite Ferry in especially. And also to keep in mind, as you go deeper into Ferry, it's like you have your House Brownie that you can connect with. Everybody does. You can, well, some of us have lost them, and sometimes they're kind of finicky. If you're not treating them well, they will leave. But you can invite one in, or you can invite them back also.
What is that? A House Brownie? Can you elaborate on what that is?
The House Brownie is it's the House Brownie comes, and it is about they help you keep your house clean. That's the way I always think of it. That's the simplest way to think of it. I mean, there's so many stories that I can like reference right now, but the House Brownie is really there just to kind of watch over your household and help inspire you to keep it clean. Now, when it starts to get into disarray, and if you start to ignore that House Brownie, if you start to ignore your house, they will leave. And there's other things that can kind of set them off. They're a little temperamental, but they're also very good and very helpful, and especially with creative ideas of like how to decorate the house, or just motivation to help you do your housework. And I know I personally, need a lot of motivation, a lot of help. And they can actually help things go quicker too.
We got here, I have the sacred, wait a second here, where'd she go? Forest cards from from Denise Lynn. It really helps me keep connected with nature that way. I do have beautiful plants, and I love inside too. I need the House Brownie for sure. I have done sage clearings and in the process of cleaning thoroughly. Thank you so much. What is the difference between a brownie and a house diva? Diva?
A house diva. House diva to me is more of a guardian spirit. And divas are usually connected more with the plants, and very much the divic energies are the building blocks. So I don't really think of them in terms of fairies. There's a relationship there, but the divas they are an intelligent energy, but they are more the building blocks of our reality. So with a house diva, I would see that more as a guardian, whereas the brownie comes in with a very specific job to do, and that is to just help inspire you, clean your house, kind of watch over your house, a little bit of guardianship there, a little bit of watching against intruders, but mainly helping to keep it clean, and that warmth of family, that feeling of being held in that special space.
Awesome. So how are the fairies and Merlin feeling about IAUSM?
Let's ask Merlin. And Merlin just says he's so amazed at all of the openings that are coming, as we enter these new earth energies. And so he sees IAUSM as one of the venues for people to come and receive all of these teachings and this information. A lot of the teachings are old teachings. The old teachings are new teachings again. And so he welcomes that opportunity. And also he laughs a little bit about the technology, but he finds that to be like wonderful also, that we're able to like use this beautiful technology. And of course, he also comments on the other side of that we've always had that, because we're incredibly telepathic beings. We just haven't reached that yet. So in a way, we're using our technology to kind of bridge that gap to get there, but he's anticipating that we will get there. So he feels good about IAUSM. He feels probably better than good, and really excited because he sees it as part of what's coming in terms of the new earth energies and part of the education to the new earth energies.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing that. That's lovely. Love that. We have a question from Joy. Question. The onset of floods and fires associated with global warming. Do you think there is a danger of losing our connection to nature? In other words, are we past the point of losing nature to global warming?
No,
No, I don't think so either.
no, we're absolutely not. But that's another reason, and I'm glad you asked that question. That's another reason that the gateway to Ferry is opening to us. And to understand the Fae is they really don't care about humans. I'll be honest. Some of them like us, and some of them, most of them are probably just indifferent. And also some humans actually have fairy ancestry too, because there was a point where there was that connection when the dimensions were more open, and that's a whole other subject, so I'm not going to get into it here. But so there are fairy that are have a kinship with us. There are fairy that actually want to work with us and care about us. The majority are indifferent. The problem is they don't want to see us destroy our dimension or the world. And so that's why right now they're opening up the gateways. It has to do with the time. We are in a critical time right now. And we are in a time where we're being called to action. We're being called to really awaken and activate and to form this, I want to say that this kind of coexistence, co-creation, and helping each other out. And they're actually most of the Fae are rather doubtful that we can do it. So there's like a small group of them that are vying for this opportunity. And that's why it's really important for us to show that we can, be, environmentally aware and helpful, and to show that we can be respectful, and to kind of get over ourselves, get over our ego. Yep. And really, work together. So that's what they're looking for in us right now. But yes, we can. And a lot of getting back to the Divic energies and that just raw elemental energy, that's what we're seeing that's gone awry. And so bringing in the Ferry, who actually have a better grip on how to, they've mastered the elements. So earth, air, fire, and water. I mean, the Fae are masters of those elements. So they have more control. They're just kind of, like I said, we've been bad neighbors. And so they're not exactly coming. You don't go over and help the neighbor that is like throwing trash in your yard and having loud parties, right? Like, so that's kind of how they view us. But right now they're giving us this opportunity, and they can help us. They can help lead us out of this, the global warming and all of the terrible events.
The damage
it's all our doing.
I knew, like back in when the Amazon was on fire, and I remember then the scientists coming in and saying, we are about 20 years from the point of no return. Like, if we keep this up, we've got about 20 years of the point of no return. So I think that, there is no more time for later, and we'll pay attention to this later. This has to happen now for us to be able to save her. I mean, if we think of Gaia as a living consciousness, and at the end of the day, she's only going to take so much abuse, Right. So it's about, we've got to be able to, she can take care of herself and heal herself, but we can't keep undoing what she's doing. And that's really what it comes down to. And it makes sense that the fairies are just like, we'll help you, but if you're going to keep undoing what we do, then there's no point.
Exactly. That's kind of how they feel. Yeah. So it's up to us to show them that, we're better than that we've evolved to a place where we can do this, and we do respect the planet. And I mean, this is what, in my meditations, when I go into the realm of Ferry, they've spoken about, this is it. You guys are at that point where it's either you are going to like evolve and move onto a more spiritual path and a spiritual way of life, and a way that incorporates everything and every energy and every essence that is here, on this planet, that we don't see ourselves apart from it, or we're going to devolve and go deeper into materialism. And then that's that can eventually lead to, some sort of, global cataclysm.
I feel like there's going to be both. I feel like there's going to be a tear, almost like a rip in the dimensions. And those of us who are going to respect it are going to end up in one, and those who don't will end up in another. I think that there's not enough time to get everybody on board.
Yeah.
That was been the message that I've been getting for the last, like, I don't know, 3-4 years consistently, that there's going to be, I don't know what it's going to look like, but just that there's going to be some kind of rip.
Yeah. And, that kind of correlates to like messages I've been receiving, which are, about the dimensions are all open right now. And so it's kind of like we're moving in and out of different dimensions. And it's, once everybody gets to where they're going, in terms of vibrational frequency, then the dimensions will kind of lock into place again. But so right now there's like a lot of movement going on, and it's very chaotic, and we're feeling it, physically, emotionally, and mentally. It's throwing us all off. But, that also is going to come to a place where, it's going to settle out. But right now it's kind of like our last ditch effort, as you said, Aisha, to get everybody on board, or to get as many people on board as we can, so that we can like powerfully shift the healing of the planet, and also the healing of the other realms. Because it's like, in Ferry, they always remind me, it's not just you guys that are suffering. It's like we're suffering too, because we're also interconnected. So that's very important to know. So that's another reason they're opening up to like really, make this connection with us, and to invite us in and embrace us.
I think that too. And it's like, this is one message that I've been getting a lot. And it's like, we don't all have to change. We don't all have to transform, just a significant number of us to change everything, because when one person changes, it changes everything around them. Right. So I think it doesn't have to be every single person, but just enough of us that can kind of tip the scales for everybody. And I always thought that was the message of IAUSM anyways, that didn't have to be everyone on the planet. It had to just be enough of us to tip those scales. And, I believe that, instead of sitting back, and this is to anyone who will be listening to this recording at some point, or who's with us now, waiting for someone else to do it. It's like, we're always waiting for that knight in shining armor to ride up and save us. Be the knight, be the knight, be the knight, be the goddess, be the god, do it. Don't wait for someone else. Play your part, play your part. It's time to step up. It's time to step up. You can't just sit back and wait for someone else to do it. And that's really, I think that's a strong message as well. Rowan, what do you feel about that?
Definitely. And it is time for us to step up. And what they were just showing me, I think it was just yesterday in meditation, not every person has to be wholly vibrationally healed. It's like just a part of them. So some people could be down here in materialism, yet totally be on the vibrational level of wanting to heal the environment and doing their part. So, you could be in the big house, driving the nice car, as I always like to say, and leading a very material life. But all of a sudden there's a part of you, because we're all multidimensional beings, that is elevated enough to do that. And so that was another message. Like, it doesn't have to be a whole vibrational shift. It just has to be a vibrational shift in the right direction for part of each person, so just showing that spiritual evolution there. And when they showed it to me that way, I became more hopeful, because I feel like that's kind of an easy thing to do. And that's something we've been really working on, for decades now. I mean, since I was a little kid, right? So I do feel like we have, for the most part, we have that level of awareness, and we would have to, in order to be, standing at this point where the dimensions are opening up, and where actually Faery is actually willing to like talk to us, willing to like have that conversation, because they've been pretty closed off.
So we've got a chance here. We've got a chance here. Let's not waste it. So we've got to do what we've got to do. And that's all there is to it. So IAUSM will definitely play their part as much as we can. So thank you so much for all those messages. And you're also giving a great gift. As if you haven't already, Rowan. So you're also given a great gift as part of the bonus package, and that's you'll be giving 10% off on a reading or a healing session with you. So we'll be adding that into our bonus package. So thank you so much for that. And, you know, just thank you so much for being you.
Thanks, Aisha.
When I started IAUSM, you were one of the very first teachers that came on that I consulted with. I didn't know who you are, but I knew I needed to speak with you. And you did give me a lot of confirmation in the work that I was about to embark on. So that was amazing. And since then, you know, you've come through a few times when it's been a little sketchy about where I'm going with stuff. So you've been able to set me back on the right path again. So thank you so much. And even help me with the messages that I'm getting and to be able to understand what to do with them. So thank you for all that you do. And I'm so glad that you're with us at IAUSM, and you've got so many beautiful courses in IAUSM. So if you guys haven't started, please do. You've got a great group, Taste of Tarot. So make sure that you get into that. She'll be doing a lot of work in that group as well with people. So, you know, just discussions and learning. And so there's so much going on in IAUSM, so many various things, so many different ways that you can be touched and helped. There's just no excuse. There's no excuse. So definitely thank you for all that you do. We're going to head into